Spider-Man would have to be my favorite character of all time. Alright, I have everything Spider-Man. I got a Spider-Man statue right next to me. I got like a ton of Spider-Man posters on my wall. I have a Spider-Man picture that my sister painted for me. Got all the comic books. I've been a fan of Spider-Man, God, as long as I can remember. Seeing this game 2 years ago after the flop of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game, I was stoked to see this game succeed. Like, I really wanted this game to succeed. From the first time I saw this trailer, I freaked out, and I've been so excited for this game. And after playing it to nearly 100% completion, I'm finally going to give my thoughts on this game. So, Spider-Man PS4 story starts roughly 8 years after he was bitten by the spider. Most of his villains and characters are well established. There's no origin to anybody except for the main villain, which we'll get into later. So the main theme of this game is showing Peter Parker's world and Spider-Man's world colliding. This is shown mainly through Martin Lee and, spoilers, Dr. Octavius. So in the opening scene, we see the first example of Spider-Man's world colliding with Peter Parker's, and this is shown with the rent sliding under the door. He has to choose whether to pay his rent or go after Fisk, and he chooses to go after Fisk because Fisk is terrorizing the whole city. You know, he can't really worry about himself right now. He has to go after Fisk. He's a bad guy. Now, the second example of Peter's world and Spider-Man's world colliding is with Martin Lee and the Feast Shelter in Aunt May. See, Aunt May works for Martin Lee, and Martin Lee's Mr. Negative, the bad guy in charge of all the demons. And, you know, he kind of has to worry about her. You know, when Martin Lee, he has to go into hiding. She has to run the Feast Shelter by herself. You know, he has to worry about Aunt May, but he also has to worry about finding Martin Lee. You know, what's he gonna do? And third example is with Otto Octavius. Okay, and Peter works with Otto. That's like his job and everything. But you know, he has to look past Otto whenever he's fighting him, and he has to see this guy who's terrorizing the city. You know, as Peter said, he looked up to Otto. He wished he could be everything he was, but is that really Otto? We don't know. You know, Otto could have been putting on this mask to seem like this good guy, trying to make prosthetics for people, but in reality, it could be like he was making these sort of prosthetics to go form the Sinister Six and terrorize all New York. Peter Parker and Mary Jane's relationship in this story is really good. I really like how they have been talking for 6 months, and then he just runs into her as Spider-Man, and he has to like catch up with her on her like events and all that. But I really like the relationship between them because they're broken up, but you could still tell that they care about each other. Peter's relationship with Miles, Peter has to be like this big brother sort of to Miles, and he like teaches him how to fight.
Relax. Hip square to your opponent. Let them make the first move. Now use your feet. When they go off balance, look for an opening. Boom. Like that? Yeah, that's it.
One of the most emotional parts about this game was Aunt May's death. Aunt May's death was really emotional. I really like how she confessed to knowing about Peter for such a long time, because honestly, how could you not know that someone you live with or that you used to live with was Spider-Man? Like, Peter usually makes these like stupid excuses for leaving, and then all you see is like Spider-Man coming out of nowhere a couple minutes later. Like, how does no one put two and two together? But in this game, it shows that she put two and two together, and like she kind of hints at it throughout the story, and I think that's excellent. I love that. But back to Aunt May's death, you know, they did it really well, showing Peter's morals. Like, he has to choose. He has the great power, but it also comes with great responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Great power comes with great responsibility. It shows that through Aunt May's death. He has the serum. That's his power. He could cure her right then and there. But then, at what cost? Millions of New Yorkers would die. So he has to choose the hard way out. He has responsibility, and he he did what he was supposed to do. I really like that. They wrote Peter so well. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk a little bit about the gameplay. Now with some of the gameplay, you have the regular pressing square to do your basic attacks. Spider-Man has this weird fighting style. I don't really know what to call it, but he doesn't punch at all except when you like punch people in the air. He does like these weird kicks, and I like that. It looks really, really good. And you also have your gadgets. I don't know how I feel about the gadgets. I like the idea of them, but if there was a little bit more innovation, because a lot of them are just the same. Like, okay, so you have your basic web shooters, and you have, which is basically kind of like a stun, but then you also have the electric webs, which are also a stun. And then you have your impact webs, which are a one-hit kill if you hit someone into a wall. And then you have the trip mine, which is one hit kill if someone walks into it. So I guess like the only like original one is the one that makes them float in the air. I don't know. I like the gadgets. The gadgets are really cool. I just think there should be a little bit more innovation when it comes to the gadgets. And, you know, have like 1 or 2 instant kills. You know, I got like 1 or 2 stuns. And now we got the suits, which I guess are kind of like gameplay. They're kind of cosmetic, kind of not really. But yeah, with the suits, they have the suit abilities. We got like your Iron Spider arms, or you got the Web Blossom. You got Spider Bro, which is kind of like a Spider Drone, but it's like does more damage. Some ones that like play into stealth, ones that make gravity low. Those are really innovative. I really like those. I guess the main one I used was Web Blossom because, not gonna lie, that one's really, really overpowered. A lot of the suit powers are really innovative, and I really like that. But a lot of them are kind of similar, like the bulletproof and ones that make you invulnerable. But yeah, I guess there are some that you don't really use as much because they're not as good as like Web Blossom or like the spider arms or like the guitar thing. Like the velocity suit one is kind of useless in my opinion because you're just running through people and it makes you fast. Like I would really like the velocity suit power if it would have been like it makes you faster, like with web swinging and all that. Speaking of which, the web swinging is probably some of the best web swinging I've ever played. Now granted, I've only played a little bit of Spider-Man 2, but whenever I played it, I didn't really like it as much because I guess it's kind of like nostalgia blinding people. But in this game, you know, you could go a lot, like you could go very fast, and the game doesn't really put you at a halt. You just keep moving. You know, it feels really fluid, and when you like, the game never stops you. And I like that. You know, the web swinging, it's not difficult, but once you get good at it, you could like really master it. So with web swinging, you also have your like web zip, which kind of pulls you, and then you have the kind of like dash thing that you pull to wherever your pointer's pointing to, and you jump off it to do like a little boost. They give you a little boost. The web swinging has some great animations that are like taken directly from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, in my opinion, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 has some of the best web swinging scenes, even though the movie isn't that good. But a lot of like there are 2 specific ones that are taken directly from the movie, and they're great. Like I really like them, and a lot of the poses he does whenever he's swinging are taken directly from the comics. Now another thing about gameplay is Mary Jane and Miles gameplay. This is very controversial. So, okay, the scene, the level where they're at the train station, that is a good Mary Jane level. The level where she's sneaking around Sable Soldiers, that is not a good Mary Jane level. Those guys should not be able. They should be able to spot her. She should not be able to sneak around highly trained Sable Soldiers like that. But like forget logic. The levels are just, they're not as fun. They really slow you down from playing as Spider-Man. All you want to do is play as Spider-Man. The Miles levels are just like the Mary Jane levels. They, you know what, Miles and all the character levels, okay? MJ, Miles, and Peter. They slow you down from playing as Spider-Man. Now, if Peter's levels were just a cutscene, if Miles' levels were just a cutscene, Mary Jane's levels had more her and Spider-Man dynamic duo. I wish Peter's levels had, like, I wish they weren't just like those puzzle things. Those felt really out of place and weird. I wish they were more integrated into the open world, or where like you have to play as Peter but not get spotted, and he doesn't have like his Spider-Man clothes because he's out doing something, but then he sees like a heist or whatever, or like, and you have to go like stealth them out like that. That'd be really good. And including stealth. The stealth is like not even it's not even an option. You don't need to be stealthy at all. There's like 1 or 2 missions where you need to be stealthy, and that's about it. Like, there's no reason to be stealthy. And now I'm gonna talk about the suits. So the suits in this game, there are a lot of suits. I'm not gonna talk about every one. I'm just gonna talk about some of my favorites. Starting with the advanced suit, the main suit in this game. I love the suit so much that I've played the whole story using this suit. It's really good. The classic suit just looks freaking awesome in this game. Scarlet Spider suit looks amazing. Stark suit looks freaking better here than it does in the movie, which is it's so funny. I like the homage to the Ultimate Comics with the wrestler suit. The vintage comic suit is probably one of my favorite suits in this game. I like the quip thing where he insults the enemies. It's really good. And my favorite suit in the game would have to be the dark suit, which is the one that you get for completing Black Cat side missions. And God, it is such a good suit. It is so good. It looks amazing. It's just phenomenal. 10 out of 10. It's my favorite one. The ESU suit also is a really good suit. I really like the way it looks. It's probably the closest thing we'll get to playing as Peter Parker. And the Homemade Homecoming suit also looks really good. You get that for completing all the backpack stuff. And yeah, the textures just look incredible on it. Like, absolutely incredible. So the last thing I want to talk about is the side missions. So the side missions are probably some of the most disappointing things in the game. I wish the side missions were kind of how they were in the Arkham games, where you would go and you have to find all the pigs with murder victims, and then you end up getting to fight the pig at the end. Kind of like how they did that. Like, you could do how you would spot like lizards in the street, and then you end up fighting Dr. Connors later on or something like that. Most of the side content has to do with like fighting just random thugs, or going after like bombs, or like with the Philip Chang guy. They don't really integrate villains into the side missions except for 2, which are the Taskmaster side missions and the Screwball side mission. I think those were pretty good, especially the Taskmaster ones. I really like those because they actually incorporated some stealth into the game, and they had those combat tours, which are always pretty good, and being able to fight them at the end. That's kind of what I want to see more in the second game. Yeah, just integrate more of that in the second game, and it'll be a lot better. Now, all in all, Spider-Man PS4 honestly is my favorite Spider-Man game of all time. You know, screw nostalgia, screw all that. Like, this is it. This is the best and my favorite Spider-Man game of all time. I'm gonna have to give this game a 9 out of 10. I really like it, really enjoyed it. Insomniac, you did well. You did really well. Thank you guys for listening to my reviews, my first review on my channel, and I know it's not that good. I need to really get better at this, but I want to start reviewing a lot more games, and I think I'd start off with, you know, my favorite character and my favorite fictional character of all time, Spider-Man. So yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in and listening to my thoughts, and I'd like to end this video off with an homage to Godzilla Mendoza. This one's for you.
Able teams, this is Control. What's the status in Murray Hill?